To Joy with Susan Michel. And let's see, this mic is all yours.
Hi, this is Susan Michel. I am here in Western Massachusetts. It is great to be here as always. I am the author of Surrender to Joy, From Suicide to Serenity. I teach the transformational truth of A Course in Miracles, which we are all here to study, to learn, to embody the knowledge of. My good friend and Course in Miracles soul sister, Myrna Skoller, is the author of Private Lessons with Jesus, along with quite a few other books. I just received the copy of your latest book. Thank you so much, Myrna. The Private Lessons with Jesus is the perfect companion to the workbook for students. How are you today, Myrna?
Good to be back home. We were away for a few days in Sarasota, and it was really beautiful. The weather was beautiful. We were at a wedding, and it was just perfect. The weather was beautiful, perfect. And I saw Rob. We had lunch with him, and he was Rob Schwartz. I'm talking about. Some people are familiar with who he is, and he's put out 3 books, all about past life regression or in between life regression, right? Isn't that what he's about?
It's in between life regression.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting because what that speaks about is the soul lessons that we're here to learn.
Mhm.
Isn't that right, Myrna?
Yes, that's what it's about. And
Because we come into this world and it's almost like, again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we set up our challenging situations a lot of times before we were born, because by overcoming that challenge, we are going to learn how to love deeper. We are going to develop a necessary skill set that all has to do with love, right?
yeah, I'm convinced we come to this world to get ourselves into the higher learning, to develop, into a higher understanding of our purpose and so forth. So, and that really does signify that we did come from a place that sort of pushed us into this recognition, into this reality. And this is a good planet to learn what we're here to really uncover, I think. It's a good place because we really do go through a lot of ups and downs and so forth. And the journey is certainly profound, I believe.
It
Right.
really is. We have a clear choice at each and every moment. And it's I've experienced today both the worlds, it's the thought system based on love, which is just such a beautiful way to see the world. That's the truth of what the world is.
Hmm.
And then the opposite is the world based on the egoic perception, which is full of fear. And there's such a difference in the two worlds, and we have a choice as to which teacher we are going to follow. A Course in Miracles is a mind training program. So with discipline, we can choose love more and more often, but the choice is up to us. I mean, for me, I think prayer is a necessary tool because when I'm engrossed in that egoic way of seeing things, I pray and the Holy Spirit can help me to change my perception. And it's amazing how that can work. Um, well, I guess thoughts on that, Myrna, before I start my paragraph that I love to recite in the beginning of each talk. Any thoughts?
Go right ahead. I was just going to point to today's lesson, which talks about fear, as you
Mhm.
just mentioned. So, yeah, we can discuss that. Go ahead.
So, what I write in the beginning of my book, I write, my passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own misperception. When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection to all that is real. This is my message. It can be clarified with 3 simple words: surrender to joy. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. I was listening today to Course in Miracles on Audible, which I pretty much always do before my talks. And what really sparked my interest was level confusion. Jesus was talking about level confusion. And I never really fully understood what that meant. I've listened to it over and over, being that I've studied A Course in Miracles for over 30 years, but I never fully understood what it meant. And according to my favorite source for one of my favorite sources for feedback right now, ChatGPT, according to ChatGPT, is level confusion is basically saying that there are 2 levels: the mental, the mind, and form, the world. And you can't correct what's happening in the world by rearranging the world. You can only correct what you're perceiving in the world by changing your thoughts, because the thoughts is where everything originates. And again, you can tell me what you think of that, because I've had questions over the different levels for many years. But that speaks so astutely about so many things. Like when I think there's a problem, which I have my fair share of challenges, my fair share of problems right here, right now, in my life. But it's not about going into the world and changing things in the world, because that is not where the source of my anxiety lies. Where the source lies is in my mind. So it's about, if I think there's a problem there, what I need to do is I need to go within and find the joy that I'm searching for within, because then what's going to happen is, after I can embody the truth of who I am, after I can embody the love within me, then the outside world doesn't matter. The outside world will just reflect that back to me. It's like that example that I give so often about the movie projector. If something is going on the screen, if there's some kind of dirt or distraction in the screen, it doesn't do any good to go up to the screen and wipe off the dirt or try to get rid of the distraction on the screen, because the problem is with the projector. You need to go to the projector and wipe off the lens of the projector, and that's what's going to rectify what's on the screen. And the same is true in life. If something in our life is not going as we would like, what we need to do is we need to go within. We need to be still. I love that phrase. It's biblical and probably A Course in Miracles as well, but be still and know that I am God. When life gets chaotic, really what we need to do is we need to be still and remember who we are, and start to trust in God's strength to guide us. Any thoughts on that, Myrna?
Yes, you mentioned level confusion, and that's what we tend to do, isn't it? Like you say, it happens, I think, when we mix up, the mind, the thoughts, beliefs, with the body, okay, with the external world, and believing that changes in the physical world can affect us or affect our inner state, which is just the opposite, really, because the course teaches that our minds are the source of our experience, not the world, but what's in the mind is what determines our experiences. And a real change um, comes from shifting the thoughts and perceptions. So it's not just about what happens in the external world or external circumstances, but it's also recognizing that correcting the level of confusion helps us to focus on healing the mind. And that's where our lasting peace lies, and that's where transformation happens. So I like that. We do confuse. We are completely confused until we realize that it's not the ego or the body that we are really that determines the truth of who we are or determines our state of mind. What determines our true state of mind and our peaceful state of mind is to recognize that that's where everything becomes our whole space is within that determination that we want to change our mind, not about changing the world, but it's about changing our mind about the world. And yeah, today's lesson, I always like to look at the lessons, and today's the 13th day of January, which is the 13th lesson. There's a lesson for every day of the year and a Course in Miracles. And I go back to that again. I've been through the Course's lessons so many times. And again, it's a meaningless world engenders fear. That's the title of the lesson. And when we perceive that the world is lacking, and that we are lacking because we're not getting what we want from the world, it leads us to feelings of fear and uncertainty. And a meaningless world, means to me that there's no protection in a meaningless world. But I think I would feel, or I did at one point in my life, felt completely on my own and fearful, vulnerable, anxious, because there was really no stable foundation or sense of security. And that's what would happen if we see a meaningless world, which engenders fear. So within the world, we can change our thoughts, change our mind, we learn our lessons. And there's a lot that the world can offer us if we are living in the world, not of the world, and recognizing that fear and understanding comes from our own perception, not from the world itself. So by willing to let go of our own judgments and open ourselves up to our higher purpose, we can then go beyond the fear and then experience peace. Right, Susan?
That's absolutely right. Yes. Um, you know, again, at each and every moment, we have a choice. We can side with the Holy Spirit and trust that everything in our life is happening just perfectly, or we can side with the ego, which brings on anxiety, stress, fear. And I personally experience both sides on a daily basis. Um, it's clear in A Course in Miracles when we do allow stress and anxiety and any form of fear to enter our thought system, we are blocking God. We are blocking Christ's guidance. We are blocking our miracle working ability because we cannot be a conduit for God's divine love. We cannot extend God's love to our brother if there is fear in any form in our mind. So it's very important to release that fear as often as possible. And I think this requires discipline. It requires a mental discipline, where A Course in Miracles is mind training. A Course in Miracles is teaching us to focus on the truth of who we are more and more often. You know, it's just so interesting how that works, because I mean, in a normal daily situation, there are challenges, there are fear-based thoughts that arise in my mind. And instead of being a victim of those thoughts, of that mental negativity, basically we have the ability to switch it off. Like, we have the ability to turn on the light. We have the ability to release the negativity and go back to the love. I mean, it's just so amazing how that works, you know? I mean, I drove in and out of New York City. New York City is about 3 hours, 3.5, between 2.5 and 3.5 hours from where I live. So I drove in and out of New York City yesterday because I had something to do in the city. I didn't have any place to stay overnight. So I made the round trip drive in one day. You know, I was just like so tired when I got home last night. You know, I was just so exhausted. I woke up, I was still kind of cranky, still kind of sleepy. I didn't work out. And then I was just feeling cranky, you know, feeling not perfect, feeling off. Then I meditated. And it's just amazing how, when you focus on the truth of what you are, when you focus on stilling your mind, when you focus on love, when you focus on God, it's just amazing how we all have the ability to release the fear and go back to the love anytime we choose. It does require, it's a choice. It's not a struggle. I think the last time I was here in Gather, I spoke about struggle, because struggle is of the ego. You know, A Course in Miracles is definitely not about struggle, but to focus on love, and to just, you know, be connected with God. We need to choose love. I mean, we all have a choice. It's up to us to choose love, you know, if we want to be at peace. And that's what A Course in Miracles is teaching us how to do. A Course in Miracles is teaching us how to put our mind at peace, because that is the only way that we can be beneficial in this world. That's the only way that we can help humanity, when we can just put our mind at peace and ask God where he would have us go. I know there's this beautiful paragraph that we used to recite in the beginning of each talk. You know, it's asking God, where would you have me go? Who would you have me speak to? What would you have me say? But to really live like that requires our mind to be at peace. After our mind is at peace, we can hear the words of God, and God is always directing us. The Course in Miracles is teaching us, it's not claiming to teach us the meaning of love, because that is something that we cannot be taught. That is just the essence of who we are. The Course in Miracles is teaching us to remove the blocks to love. And when we can release the negativity, when we can release the blocks, love is just who we are. And when we can calm our mind, when we can still our mind, we can listen to our higher self, we can listen to God's guidance, and we will always know who to go, who to talk to, where to go, and what to say. You know, that paragraph in the beginning of the book that's just so poignant and so beautiful that we used to read in the beginning of each talk. I should be able to open my, I'll find it. I will find it. It's in the beginning of chapter 1, I believe. Do you remember where that is by any
What is it
chance?
that you're looking for?
It's the paragraph in the beginning of the book
Yeah.
that I used to read
And what is
that
it about?
it's about listening to God's voice, and he will direct us. He will tell us where to go, what to say, with whom to say it. It's in the beginning of the book.
Yeah,
I
I
shall
do
find
remember
it.
that. Where to go,
I
what to
shall
say.
find it. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Oh, it's right
yeah.
here. It's a very like famous paragraph here. It's in the beginning of chapter 2, not chapter 1. It says, I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do
Mhm.
not have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. So it's all about surrendering to God um, at each and every moment because he will direct us. You know, it's almost like when we can get out of the way, when Susan can get out of the way, when Susan's ego can get out of the way, you know, then I can allow God's voice to speak through me.
Yes. Yeah. ACIM, Course in Miracles, tells us, that in moments of uncertainty, we can pause and we listen inwardly and trust that the right words and actions will naturally arise when we allow love to guide us. So by connecting to God's love and feeling that there's nothing we have to fear at all, then everything comes to us automatically, the words, the thoughts, the ideas. And rather than offering, a specific instructions, and so forth, or scripted responses, it's a matter of being present, extending our kindness, and letting love direct our choices. And, this in itself, I think, offers us peace, confidence, knowing that every encounter is an opportunity to share love and actually deepen our spiritual understanding. I find that it works. It really does. Whatever I need a thought, I need an idea, I need um, to be directed in a certain way. I really find that, the more I practice this, the easier the thoughts and the ideas come to me. And that's a wonderful sense of feeling secure in the knowledge that we're not hanging on a limb, we're being held up and nurtured and guided. And that's such an amazing feeling of security, of peace. And, and I think that's our true function in the world because in that way we also extend God's love and we recognize our own divine presence. And when you recognize your own divine presence, you can naturally share it with others. And then we heal. We heal both ourselves and people that we encounter, people in our lives as well. To me, that experience alone is recognition of that truth. I've experienced that, realizing the difference between keeping ourselves at odds, keeping other people at odds with ourselves, as opposed to keeping them close by extending love, and which is also seen as an expression of forgiveness and compassion and kindness. And then we move away from fear and separation, and by offering God's love, uh, we also restore a sense of peace and to ourselves and to others as well. So it's all about inner peace, all about that. That's what we strive to learn. I've absolutely, I'm an advocate of that because in studying the Course in Miracles and speaking about it, the more I speak about it, the more I am able to recognize how much I have healed since I first began so many years ago. The healing experience came through, which I guess needed to learn. I guess everybody does, forgiveness. And forgiveness and inner peace are so strongly connected. So, by experiencing the meaning of true forgiveness, I think we can allow ourselves to be guided by love instead of fear. And then we find a deeper sense of meaning and fulfillment and all of that. Yeah, right, Susan?
Mm-hmm. And forgiveness isn't about letting the other guy off the hook.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiveness is about seeing through the error, like
Yeah.
seeing the innocence in our brother and realizing that the error never occurred. So when Course in Miracles talks about forgiveness, it's again, it's not so much about the other person. It's about switching our own mindset from fear to love. Because when we're holding on to a grievance, when we're seeing our brother as flawed, we are not seeing clearly. We're keeping ourselves down in the darkness. We're seeing through this lens, which is shaded with grievances and resentments. So by forgiving our brother and seeing through his error, we're correcting our perception. We're aligning our vision with the mind of God. So forgiveness has so much more to do with us than it has to do with our brother. And it's something that requires it requires, I guess, an effort. It requires a decision. It's a decision that we must make or that we must make if we want to feel the peace of God. We must make if we want to put our mind at peace, is to see through our brother's errors to the truth of who he is. A Course in Miracles talks about charity. And charity is seeing the Christ-like nature in our brother, even if we can't feel it in ourselves at the moment. So when we see the beauty in our brother, it's aligning our mind with the thoughts of God. When we forgive our brother, we can feel God's forgiveness towards us. God never really has to forgive us because he never condemned us. We do need to forgive our brother because we have condemned our brother. So when we can forgive, we're realigning our thought with the mind of God. And it's not easy, that question, would you rather be right or happy? It's not easy. I mean, the only way to feel happy is through forgiveness. However, I mean, so many things happen in life that the ego many times likes to be right. And I can think of so many examples in my own life that my ego would like to be right about. But the Holy Spirit, the truth of who I am, the Holy Spirit is guiding me to forgive. So the only way to be happy is to see through my brother's errors. And when I can forgive my brother, I can also forgive myself. And by forgiving my brother, I can feel the truth of who I am. By forgiving my brother, I can feel the peace within my own heart. And that's the only way to feel it. That's like the main tool that we have here in this earthly classroom. I say there's three primary bullet points that Course in Miracles is teaching us to keep our mind aligned with God's mind: forgiveness, gratitude, and acceptance. And I think all three are important, but forgiveness is the most important, because when we forgive, we basically see our brother's innocence. And the only way to feel our own innocence is to see our brother's innocence. I mean, A Course in Miracles clearly states God has but one son, and we're all part of the same sonship. So we can't see our brother any differently than we see ourselves. So when we're hanging on to a grievance towards our brother, we're basically condemning ourselves. So to condemn my brother is to condemn myself. To forgive my brother is to forgive myself. So it's such a simple choice, because the only thing that is real is the love. It's not easy because the world is run on the egoic thought system. The world teaches us that we need to protect ourselves by hanging on to the grievances. The world teaches us that the way to assure that these grievances don't happen to us again is to hang on to them. A Course in Miracles is saying, no, we're not protecting ourselves by hanging on to grievances. We're basically protecting ourselves by releasing the grievances, because only through the release of grievances do we make sure that they won't happen again. Because if there's something in my mind that I have not forgiven, I'm actually going to draw that very same circumstance to me, because the universe is going to give me another opportunity to heal. Once I can release the grievance, it's almost like lesson learned. I don't have to experience that again. So I'm able to release it. So by true forgiveness, we don't have to repeat that same unhealthy pattern in our life. True forgiveness is about releasing that experience completely. I've noticed with different friends and with myself, that if there's something in me that I have not fully forgiven, it's a pain point in my mind that needs to be released, I continue to draw to my life that very same circumstance. Once I can own the pain and release the pain, I no longer have to learn that lesson. Thoughts on that, Myrna?
Yeah, grievances. Yeah. What are grievances? The Course does talk about grievances. And of course, it brings us back to forgiveness. Of course, if we hold on to a grievance, that means we're not forgiving. So grievances is a very strong word to really look at, a thought to look at and recognize when we're holding on to something that we shouldn't be. The Course tells us, that a grievance really is a mental barrier, and it keeps us from experiencing the love or inner peace. And, and we hold on to a grievance is a way of, we're clinging to the past. And that's the illusion. The past is really an illusion. It's not real. The Course tells us that very plainly. And by reinforcing the illusion, it creates separation, a feeling of separation, not only from God, but from our true self. We don't really know who we are. We don't really know ourselves truthfully if we are, ensconced in the world of illusion. And the grievances that we're holding on to distorts our perception and it blocks our awareness to love and prevents us from recognizing our shared spiritual essence um, that we that we are connected to. And it helps us to release, by choosing to release a grievance and practice forgiveness, we free ourselves from suffering, and then we're open to healing, and then that's where peace comes. Peace comes from that unity, and that's why the Course in Miracles, I used to speak to Dove, and and he liked to use the phrase, "Would you rather be right or happy?" Which I like that phrase. Would you rather be right or happy? Which is really a central teaching, really, because it invites us to really examine the value that we place on being right and winning arguments as compared to experiencing inner peace. And it tells us that insisting on being right often leads to conflict, and then we become defensive. And, while choosing happiness means letting go of ego-driven needs and embracing forgiveness and understanding the importance of that. The Course stresses that over and over again. It's the core, I believe, well, it is the cornerstone of A Course in Miracles, really is based on forgiveness. And by prioritizing happiness over the need to be right, I think we open ourselves up to healing and connection and a deeper sense of well-being. So, yeah, and it brings us, like you said before, charity. In this context, charity is not just an act of giving help. The basic charity is not just an act of forgiving, but it's how we forgive. The willingness to truly forgive and to see others through the eyes of compassion and understanding. And then it helps us to release our judgments and offer kindness without placing conditions on our kindness. So, it's really affirms the inherent or innocence of who we are and every other individual. So by practicing charity, we can participate in the healing of ourselves and so forth. So I like those words that you use, Susan, right?
Right,
Mhm.
right. Yeah, charity is seeing someone beyond where they have gone in time, seeing the truth of who they are, seeing through their mistakes, seeing through the illusion to the reality of who they are. And I think when we can see Christ in our brother, that is one way to feel Christ within ourselves. Um, yeah, so it's really very beautiful. And I like what you said too, Myrna, that that it's very important to prioritize happiness over the need to be right. The ego loves to be right, but just because the ego is right doesn't mean that we are going to experience peace, love, joy, and happiness. The only way we are going to experience the truth of who we are, which is peace, love, joy, and happiness, is seeing through the illusion to the love on the other side. So it's a mental discipline. It's a uh, determination that we all make at each and every moment. What do we want to focus on? So there's a few really interesting chats in the chat room here. I like what Carolina asked. I think it's a very interesting question. And then Sora answered it. They're both very, very interesting. If anyone wants to speak out loud, just feel free to raise your hand. But Carolina said, per your words, when I was talking about forgiveness and letting go, I believe, how do you go from seeing the error and not letting ourselves or others off the hook. And my question is, what is a fair Lord's justice and restoration in earthly actions in love and peace? And then Sora wrote, the forms of justice and restoration are determined by the Holy Spirit. We don't know. Every problem is one of identity. We can't know who we are. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. Ooh, that's very good, Sora. Thank you. Let me recognize my problems have been solved. So, when it comes to that, what I mean, you just go to the most evil deed that has ever been undertaken in this earthly classroom, I feel, is the crucifixion of Jesus. I mean, you read in the Bible, you watch the movies, about all the horrific circumstances that Jesus Christ endured. um, I remember that movie, The Passion of the Christ, that came out about 20 years ago by Mel Gibson, and it portrayed all the suffering that Jesus went through when he was walking to the cross. I remember sitting in the movie theater and just like I had my hands over my eyes. I couldn't even watch it. I felt sick. So, what do the people that crucified Jesus deserve? Well, they deserve to be punished horribly according to everything that is taught in this world. But Jesus Christ saw through that, and he forgave them, and he loved them anyway. And that's what made his feat miraculous, because he saw through the fear to the love on the other side. And he said, God, please forgive them. They know not what they do. So, what does somebody deserve by making mistakes in this world? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's horrible sometimes when people project their fear onto you. I mean, it's difficult, I should say. It's difficult when people project their fear onto you. But the answer is simple. The answer is always love. The answer is always forgive. Forgive them, Father. They know not what they do. What a miraculous thing to say. So he saw through their behavior to the love on the other side. So that is just the perfect lesson for all of us. I'm not saying I can do it all the time because it's very difficult, but it's what I try to do. And that's what A Course in Miracles is teaching me, to see through the fear to the love on the other side, because when we can do that, I mean, the rewards are just beautiful. We get what we give. Ooh, somebody has his hand raised, I believe. Edward, thoughts, Edward? Edward has his hands raised. Oh, there you are. Hi. Maybe you're on mute, Edward. I can't hear you.
Are you there? Hello?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, you there. I thought I lost you for a minute.
Oh, you are. You're not on mute, but you're not being heard in the room. Maybe
Am I
there's some
being,
kind of.
can you
Yeah, I
hear me?
see. I see you. Yeah, your mute is on and off. I know you're trying to talk, but there's a glitch in the technology. Thanks for raising your hand, Edward. Myrna, any thoughts?
Oh, you can hear me? I didn't know if you could.
Yeah, I can hear you, Myrna. I just couldn't
Oh,
hear
okay.
Edward.
Yeah. Yeah. You were talking about the passion. A lot of good things came up. You're talking about the passion of the Christ and Christ consciousness and so forth. And, the passion of the Christ is really, it really shows his suffering and so forth. And, but by willingly sacrificing himself, he embodied unconditional love, like you said. What could be greater than offering love at a moment when he was at the greatest, a point of his pain and humiliation. And so, this selfless act is considered the highest expression of compassion and unity, and inspires others to live within that empathy. And he offers us that. He offers us that connection to both God and to love our brothers. And I like the term Christ consciousness because it really heightens our spiritual awareness, because it's the embodiment of unconditional love, compassion, and that's what Jesus taught. And it goes, it has nothing to do with love. I think it goes beyond religious boundaries, and it emphasizes that living with integrity and love and a deep sense of connection to the divine, then we can experience what it is to have the Christ consciousness as a way to experience our own inner peace, and to treat others, with constant kindness, with empathy, to realize that we want to stay within that state of mind, and to be within the state of mind of that type of consciousness really requires a wanting, a desire to really stay there, to stay within the love that was that's given to us so freely. And it's also given. Yes. What was that? I didn't hear that. Uh, yeah, and that's really what we aim to do. And as you said, it's just it's all a state of mind. Everything is really a state of mind, and where we choose to be. We realize how much we're offered by having that consciousness that we're given to share, and the love that we can experience through that one wonderful oneness, which I talk about so often because I experience Jesus's presence. We all do. We all have the ability to do that, but I'm so open to it that it just comes to me so automatically. So when I'm suffering any kind of discomfort or pain of any type, reaching out to seeing Jesus's face is all I need to do. And the words that come, the healing words, are so comforting to me. I can't even express that enough. So again, well, the Course in Miracles is a tremendous help in making us see that. I was so blind before I discovered the Course in Miracles, and through the Course in Miracles, I discovered my true self through the teachings of Jesus, and then I came to know him, which is the greatest blessing of my life. I think perhaps that's even my purpose, having coming to know that type of healing, that consciousness that's so uh, indescribable. Yeah. And I speak of that through love and feeling, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Myrna. That's beautiful. And for me, Course in Miracles, what was so amazing about A Course in Miracles as opposed to traditional Christianity is that A Course in Miracles is making it clear that everything that Jesus did, we can do also and more. You know, Jesus never claimed that he was the only one who is
Mhm.
divine. in the Bible, it says, what I have done, you can do also and more. Go thou and do likewise. That's in the Bible. And that's what A Course in Miracles is teaching us, which is very different than what I learned in traditional Christianity. And that's just what drew me to Course in Miracles. That is what's so amazingly enticing about A Course in Miracles, that everything that Jesus did, I have the ability to do. And I see Edward's hand raised again. You want to try again to talk, Edward? You think?
Danny, you got me now?
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hi.
my speakers were plugged in, and
Uh,
I
Oh,
guess it doesn't work when the speakers are plugged in.
oh.
Yeah, so well, you were talking about the Passion of the Christ, and yeah, and then somebody else brought it up. That's an extreme example, and that's also Mel Gibson's perspective of the thing that was brought up by David Hawkins, was like that's the movie, that's the person who made the movie's depiction or consciousness somehow funneled down into a movie of what happened. But Jesus clearly states in the Course in Miracles that he didn't suffer at all.
mm,
I'm pretty sure he said that he didn't suffer. His consciousness was at a level where he didn't suffer. It just needed to happen for everything to line up. Well, anyway, so but that story brought up my day yesterday, which was it yesterday? Was yesterday Sunday? Yesterday was Monday.
Yesterday was
Yeah,
Monday.
there is Monday, yes.
Yeah, so Sunday, because I missed my Zoom calls, I was helping a friend out, a senior, because that's what I do now. Um, and just part of my walk. And towards the end of the project, the guy just vomits on me that, I'm not taking care of certain things which I could see. And I I saw right through it. I saw he was in suffering, you know, but I didn't know what to do. So I just sat there. I didn't even consciously ask the Holy Spirit or Jesus Christ for help. I just sat there and I felt like it just came through very calmly. It's just a misunderstanding. And that's all that came through. And then I just kind of I was guided to turn and just continue to do whatever was unfolding right there. But on the flip side was when that happened, I was affected emotionally. I don't know, that's cause and effect. I'm not sure that I can put it all in the right words, but I felt sorrow. And I think that's part of the letting go. Thank you.
beautiful. I do agree that I also believe that Jesus did not suffer on the cross, that his consciousness was such that he was just able to just, stay within that conscious level where there was no pain. And he teaches there is no pain. Why would he be teaching that if he felt pain? So that's how I look at it. Right, Susan? Do you see it that way?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, thank you for your share, Edward. Very,
Yeah.
very deep, very, very profound.
Mm.
I think even though the pain is not real, the circumstances in life that trigger pain need to be owned so we can get to the other side of that. So, thank you for that share. It was just very profound, very deep, very authentic, because I think there are circumstances in life that cause us to feel pain, And even though it's not real, because of course in Miracles it's teaching us that the negativity is not real, we need to have the courage to step into the emotion that is being triggered. In your example, it was sorrow. So just to be able to have the courage to feel the unhealed pain is extremely cathartic, extremely transformative. We don't want to get stuck in it, but if we allow ourselves to fully feel it, that's actually how we can get to the other side of it. I believe that's just everything that I believe in a nutshell. I always quote the invitation by Orion Mountain Dreamer. I want to know if you can sit with pain. Mine are your own without trying to hide it or fix it or fade it. And that's what so many people don't have the courage to do, because if we can just take responsibility for what's coming up and we can own the pain, we'll be able to see that it has no power over us. We'll be able to release it, and we'll be able to connect with the truth of who we are. It's very beautiful when we can do that. When we don't allow ourselves to feel the pain, what we end up doing is we end up projecting that pain onto the world. There are many angry people in this world, and they project their pain onto the world instead of taking responsibility for their pain. So, A Course in Miracles is teaching us to take responsibility for our stuff. Give it to the Holy Spirit. I'll ask the Holy Spirit for his help in healing. And when we can do that, it's just a very beautiful thing. Right, Myrna?
Yes, pain. We can't be without pain. I think we're even living in the world, but we can lessen our pain just by what you're saying. We can diminish the pain. That I've learned. To be without pain completely, well, I haven't discovered that yet. So I guess maybe I haven't reached the mountaintop yet. But it's okay to feel pain as long as we don't indulge in it. And that's what I kind of have learned not to do. So I can speak from knowledge in that respect. Yeah.
Yeah, by taking responsibility for our pain, it can turn into peace.
Mhm.
I like that, from pain to peace, but refrain from projecting the pain. That's what keeps us caught up in that cycle. When we project the pain, that doesn't get us anywhere. It's like a hamster on a habit trail. We just run around and around and around when we project our pain onto the world. And that's what so many of us do. But when we take responsibility for the pain, then we can move on.
Mhm.
So on that note, it is 2:31, and I will say thank you. Thank you. What a wonderful hour. I will end with A Course in Miracles introduction. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. The only thing that's real is the love. Thank you. Thank you. And I will return the microphone to Lynn.
Thank you so much, Susan Michel. Thank you, Myrna. Welcome back. We were all laughing because you posted that picture on Facebook and a lot of people thought you got married.
It's
I'm like,
hysterical. You have no idea how many people thought I got married. I had a
oh, it was
printer
hilarious.
retraction, which I did. It was really, well, the funny thing is, it was a white wedding. Everybody was asked to wear white. So with the white dress on the beach, saying that I was at a wedding, I guess it just, I didn't think about wording it differently. So
I thought it was adorable because so many well-wishers, so many people love
how
you.
many? Oh, it was just wonderful. I loved it. I loved, yeah.
It was as sweet as it could be, and I love you
Thank
too
you.
with all my heart. And I
Uh,
knew you didn't get married, so because you would have said something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Relatives were calling and saying, I didn't know you got married.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks you
Anyway.
guys so very much.